Volvo just had record global car sales in 2024. You know, a lot of people are saying there's an EV slowdown. Obviously, we now know the facts are not the case at all. In fact, electric car sales went up by 25% last year. Some manufacturers struggled. Volkswagen sales went down. Many car manufacturers really struggled, particularly Japanese automakers. But Volvo, well, they recorded their best ever sales in history. And that was on the back of selling more electric cars. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Guys, if you'd like to know about my health routine, my health secrets, I think I've got a few good ones, and also get access to some member-only videos, I'll put a link in the description to our YouTube members page. Volvo's move towards electric cars is clearly working. The newest battery-powered models in its lineup, the Volvo EX30, the EX90, and the EM90, added 101,000 sales to Volvo's tally in 2024. Now, the biggest problem with those cars is not the cars themselves. It's actually the fact that Volvo isn't making enough of them. They actually sold out in Australia. And that's on the back of the fact that they are more expensive than rivals. They clearly are. I mean, the Zeekr X is essentially a Volvo EX30, but it's a bit bigger, maybe a bit better, and it's cheaper. And yet, Volvo is still hitting record sales. It shows you just how much demand there is for Volvo's EVs, for not just Volvo's EVs, for good electric cars. When sales of the EX40 and C40 are added, Volvo's EV sales hit 175,000 last year, an increase of 54% compared with the previous year. 54% growth. Not as much as Zeekr, 98%, but it's still pretty damn good. Many of those sales, 98,000, came from the EX30 small electric SUV, which finished its full year on the market as Volvo's fourth best seller around the world. The XC60 midsize SUV was Volvo's bestseller with a volume of 230,853. The EV surge increased Volvo's full-year global sales by 8% to 763,000, a record for the Geely-owned automaker. It's the 8th time since 2014 that Volvo has broken its global sales record. Now, I think that not next year, I think this year, 2025, will be another record year for Volvo. My predictions for Volvo is they'll go from 763,000 sales last year to around 850,000 this year. With the record, CEO Jim Rowan kept a promise he made last February. And that promise was to increase Volvo's sales all around the world. Now, unlike other automakers who made some promises and predictions about what they were going to do in 2024, Volvo actually did what they said they were going to do. The automaker did, however, adjust its growth target downward to less than 10% from its original goal of more than 15%. Anyhow, it's pretty close, right? This means Volvo did fall slightly short of an elusive milestone, which is pushing global sales above the 800,000 threshold for the very first time. Volvo had previously targeted 800,000 sales by 2020, but the pandemic, other problems, chip shortages, supply chain issues, well, they affected those plans. However, Volvo is going to make a big financial gain from its electric car shift. Other manufacturers, they're not. And other manufacturers are actually making a loss on their EVs, but Volvo isn't. Although Volvo announced in September that it no longer aims to be an EV-only brand in 2030, it'll have some plug-in hybrids as well, apparently, it still expects battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids to account for all of its sales by then. That commitment to vehicles with a plug will earn Volvo an undisclosed sum of money from Suzuki, as the Japanese automaker will purchase CO2 credits from Volvo to avoid CO2 fines from Europe in 2024. Now, Suzuki, I believe there are other car manufacturers that are going to purchase credits from Volvo too. So the more cars that Volvo sells in Europe, the more EVs it sells, the more money it can make from these other car manufacturers who are polluting. It's a nice situation for Volvo. Now, of course, that's the same thing for Polestar, for Tesla as well. Volvo could be in line for as much as 300 million euros in CO2 credit compensation this year from a pooling agreement with Mercedes-Benz, says UBS Group analysts. So more than 300 million euros. So they're going to make about 350 million US dollars just for selling cars in Europe. It's a pretty handy little bonus that they can use to just invest more into the company. Volvo this year will fill a hole in its lineup of full electric vehicles by introducing its first battery-powered sedan, the ES90. It will be built at the Swedish automaker's factory in Torslanda near Gothenburg. So obviously Sweden is where Volvo's cars dominate. Now that said, the Tesla Model Y was the best-selling car in Sweden, but I think the Volvo EX30 was the second best-selling EV in Sweden. And really, with more new models coming, realistically, the EX30, the ES90, their small electric SUV, and their large 7-seat MPV, they're only just ramping production of those cars up. I really think Volvo is going to have an amazing year in 2025, predominantly because it's putting itself in position to succeed. It's aware disruption is happening. Jim Rowan, the CEO of the company, is one of the best automotive CEOs in the world. And if other car companies had been smart, if Stellantis had been smart, if companies like the Volkswagen Group had been smart, they would have found someone like Jim Rowan. But anyhow, you see my point here. Rowan is really pivoting the company for success. And ultimately, sometimes success comes down to having a CEO willing to lose their job because they make decisions that might not seem popular. They make decisions that might seem like they're counterintuitive, or maybe they're going against, hey, you know what? We're making all this money selling internal combustion cars, but hang on a minute, let's be smart. Let's put ourselves in position that other automakers have to pay us $350 million in a single year just because we're selling cars in Europe. That's smart. Guys, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Tonight, the Volkswagen Group has ended negotiations with the most powerful union in Europe, IG Metall. The negotiations were ended at 12 p.m. at night. No deal was struck. Unions threatened the Volkswagen Group with further strike actions. Volkswagen is demanding a 10% decrease in salary for all of its 120,000 workers in Germany. It's saying it needs to shut down either 2 or 3 factories at a minimum. Unions say none of that will happen. Unions say the only deal that they will accept is no increase in salaries this year. However, the Volkswagen Group now have $240 billion in debt, making them the second most indebted company in the world. All of this is going to end very, very badly. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. It's great to have you with us. $240 billion. Now, I don't believe that includes Volkswagen's planned investment of more than $5 billion into Rivian. But that's a staggering amount of debt on Volkswagen's books. And that makes it one of the most indebted companies in the history of the planet.